And from that point on until now, I've been doing the carnivore. And like I told you, from 713 pounds down now to,
Anthony, how did you find carnivore?
honestly, I found carnivore out of desperation. Um, Out of many years of suffering and trying the standard American diets and listening to what doctors say, um, I honestly ran out of hope. It was kind of a money shot, if you will. I when I first started it, I I really didn't even expect anything out of it. It was just out of sheer desperation. Um, yeah, to give you a little bit of insight of what I'm meaning about desperation, this all started out when I found out I was going to be a father to my first child. That was 17 years ago. Um, I was about 230 pounds, and then within, I'd say, about 8 months, I shot up from that weight to my max weight of 713 pounds. Um, and so, doing all that kind of stuff and seeing endocrinologists and specialists, and even went to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota to try to find answers. And at first, they thought it was right-sided heart failure, anywhere from that to a tumor on my pituitary, um, to some unknown, undescribed um, element, in which we never found. And the only thing that they could push on me to resolve the problem would be gastric bypass. And while I thought about it to myself, well, if they never had an answer for the problem, you know, that was going on, who's to say after the surgeries it wouldn't reoccur? And so, and that to me, that was a permanent surgery. There was no turning back. There was no um, undoing what was done. I was stuck with it. So, in my mind, if it went away, then I would be stuck with that. And I always had a high physical demanding job. Always worked in the Bakken oil field in northern United States, in Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming. And so, and when that happened, and I got hospitalized up in Billings, Montana, for the longest time, they would have to wrap me in compression wraps from my toes up to my upper torso. And so I would retain so much water that sometimes when you would do the wraps and it would accidentally poke my skin, if you could walk over to a faucet and just barely crack it open and let it drip, that's what my skin would do for hours. And I would have to soak it up in towels. Well, long story short, to make that short, time went on like that. And having multiple doctors, specialists, MDs, endocrinologists, all sorts of specialty doctors, basically saying I would have like 6 months to live if I didn't change. And so through all that, I think I've done every diet known to man, even to the extremes. And I'll even be quite honest with you, even try to just not eat at all. That bulimia, try to resolve it that way. I mean, I've went to absolute extremes to lose weight, and as time went on, I just basically lost hope. And the more time went on, the more medical problems I would have, and worse from diabetes, um, cellulitis. I've had Fournier's gangrene. If you don't know anything about Fournier's gangrene, it's a pretty deadly infection. I would say only 15% of people survive that, and that's just sheer from going through the medical things that they do, the medications that they give you, um, and the damage and causes that it does. Um, Survived all that kind of stuff with cellulitis, and I've had my diabetes got so bad and uncontrolled to the point where my A1C, the A1C is basically like a 3 month average of what your blood glucose is. it was 15 in that area, and now that I'm on the carnivore diet, it's 4.9. I've had it to where my blood glucose wouldn't even read on the monitors in the hospital, and that's over 800. And if anybody ever had diabetes, they'll tell you that you should have been in a coma. There's no reason why you should be up and walking. And so it's been pretty extremes to the that I've been through. And fast forwarding here, um, about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, I've been doing the carnivore. I was sitting here, and this is right after I had 4 years gangrene and I had surgeries and lived through it and got home. And I remember I was sitting going through Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff. And if I remember right, something just popped up on about the carnivore diet. I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know nothing about Dr. Chafee or any of that kind of stuff. Hell, I didn't even know what it was. And so I just basically did a quick read of what it was and basically all meat diet. And I just figured I'm going to try it. There's nothing to stop me from doing it. And I have 3 kids, and that I raised by myself for the most part. And my push wasn't more so myself anymore. It was more or less to do with my children, because my kids are all young still. They're 17, 12, and 9 years old, and I can't fathom the thought of them losing their dad at such a young age. So I tried it out, and when I first tried it, I lost a large amount of weight within a month. It was probably close to 100 pounds I lost in a month. And then in my mind and my psyche and everything, I couldn't wrap my mind around it was that easy. And to start losing, all this weight. And so I started eating the standard American diet again, and I gained all the weight back just very quickly. And my medical problems that come back were 10 times worse. And so I jumped back on it. And from that point on until now, I've been doing the carnivore. And like I told you, from 713 pounds down now to 254 pounds. I only weigh myself once a week. And so next time I weigh will be next week. So we're on the right track now. And now, like, my diabetes have resolved. Um, the pain in my joints have all gone away. My eyesight's better. My skin's clear. I can think more cognitively. The and so right before I started the carnivore diet, I was diagnosed with the beginning stages of multiple myeloma. And so that's another thing now that I really honestly feel like if it wasn't for the carnivore diet, that I don't know if I'd be around right now talking to you, because of the extremities that extreme ways things were going. I don't think so. And now that I've had the opportunity to be on this for as long as I am, and actually be able to read ingredients that are being sold to the public, to my kids, to your kids, if you have children, it just amazes me that more people don't look at the simplistic things of how things are. And in my point of view, with the carnivore diet, if it's complicated, you're not doing it right. Um, Carnivore diet's very straightforward and there's a lot of common sense to it. And so, and the biggest thing for me is, since at a young age, you're I don't want to say force fed, but you're more or less force fed information, untruthful information about foods and what you should have and what you shouldn't have, and it just sets you up for disaster later on down your life. medical problems, and is it's just really sickening, that you're able to see at a different light. And now that I have an opportunity to do what I'm doing now and to share this with my kids and with other people, it feels really good now. So that's just a little bit of the gist of the carnivore on how I got started. Yeah.
Well, congratulations first. I mean, that is amazing. 713, 130. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
713 pounds. And
Wow.
I remember that day just like watching your kid be born. I'll never forget it. Stepping up on it was in the hospital up there in Billings, Montana, and I was getting weighed right before I was going to get compression wraps put on. I was being showed how to put on compression wraps for my wrap my toes individually up to my mid torso, jumping on that scale. And I remember seeing that number, and my heart just sunk. I'll never forget it. And so, yeah, it's pretty much a core memory.
So you're around 230, 240 when you found out your daughter was on the way. You're 17-year-old now. Um, and then your weight just accelerated. At the time, was there some stress involved that made you more prone to eating or something? Or
No, actually, when it first initially started, it was sheer just water weight. My feet and my would be just ginormous. Um, and there was no added stress, I don't think, besides the simple fact of finding out you're going to become a dad. But nothing that I can remember that would say to me that that could have been a possibility. Why? Um, yeah, there was nothing of the sort, and still to this day, I've never found a direct answer to the reasons why, and quite honestly, now I don't. Honestly, I don't. I don't even care anymore. I to me, I found a solution myself, and that is the carnivore diet. Um, by far. And so my thoughts about it all is it was surely what I was putting into my body. Um, and my body reacted to the way of, I don't want to say like an allergic reaction from all the different kinds of foods, but I'm going to say that because in my heart of hearts, that's what I really feel like it was. Because I remember back in my, how I would eat before. I would be a high calorie, high fat. I had a high physical demanding job, so I could basically, eat whatever I wanted to and go on with life without any repercussions. So I thought. So I figure I think that that was the main source of it, and I just never knew any better. I wasn't educated properly, and everything that I knew about human anatomy or the diets was totally wrong. And I know that now, just simply by the change of way I'm eating. And throughout the times of doing the carnivore, I'm like everybody else. I like tomatoes, I like cucumbers, I like all that stuff, and it's just like every once in a while, not for not for about a year or so, I would dip my toes back and say a cucumber, and I would pay for it for a good month. And so, if that's not, I don't know why. I can't tell you the analytics of why, but I'm telling you from personal experience that is the case. And so anybody people can tell me whatever they want to tell me. I know the differences. And so yeah.
how is it now? Like, just when you see people like basically 500 pounds, people must be like, "What have you done? what's happened? Like, are they surprised? Are they interested?
Well, where I used to live before, I lived in a small town in Montana. I moved away from there probably close to 5 years ago. And so whenever I talk to, or even family that haven't seen since I moved from there, um, they're just astonished. They like literally do double takes and drop their jaws and ask me what I'm doing, and I just tell them it's a carnivore diet, and they're like, the carnivore diet. I'm like, yeah, and they're like, no, and I'll have to sit there and talk to them for a good few hours about everything, and so um, they're just astonished. And there's a lot of people that I see, um, like from back home or even different places, that are overweight, or they're searching for answers just as well as I was, or your next door neighbor, or you, or whoever watches this, and I'll sit there and I'll talk with them and try to help them out as much as I can. And me personally, going through the things that I've gone through, to the extremes that I've gone through them on, um, I've kind of decided that I want to make this, I don't want to say a life's mission, but a very focused point of my life to try to help people in the best way that I can, because nobody, in my point of view, should have to suffer for someone else's greedy dollar bill. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's all about a dollar bill when it comes to the food industry, the medical industry, for the most part. Um, it's pretty saddening.
Definitely. Um, so, how have things gone with any medications that you're on before? Have you been able to get rid of any of those?
Yes, I was on, I want to say 13 or 14 different medications that I would have to take every single day. Anywhere from insulins to heart medications, um, just for stuff for neuropathy, things for gout, arthritis pain, painkillers, just a huge array of medications, steroids, all sorts of stuff that I would have to take on a daily basis just to be able to function. One other element I forgot to mention to you that I do have, from the ups and downs of being so large, I developed a kidney failure through it, and that was a direct cause from medications that they prescribed me. What happened was, is I was on a medication to control my diabetes, and with this certain particular medication, I would have to get blood work done regularly to make sure A, my kidneys were okay, my calcium was okay, B, my potassium was okay. When I moved from home into the place that I'm currently in, the doctor that I was seeing didn't do that. They didn't regularly check my kidney functions and all that kind of good stuff. One day I got really sick and wound up in the emergency room, and I had a GFR of 3. So a GFR is basically your kidney function, and your 3 is basically the percentage of your of what your kidneys are working at. And anything below 18 and below is kidney failure. So I ended up in the hospital for, I think it was for a few weeks, when my kidneys took a dive. And so, yeah, that was the last thing I forgot to tell you. But there was a lot of medications that I was on. And now that I've been on the carnivore diet, I've been able to get rid of all of my medications, excluding the medications that I have to use for to regulate my blood pressure. And that's only because when you have kidney failure, if your renal function is diminished, That's what regulates your blood pressures and all that kind of good stuff. And so that's the only reason why I have to take it. But what I can tell you about that, since I did the carnivore diet, they reduced the medications that I had to take for that. So, all in all, everything is very well when it comes to medication wise. Um, they have all gone except for what I just explained to you briefly. Yeah,
Wow, that's excellent. On top of feeling better with carnivore, the fact that you're not taking the medications, you must feel better from that point of view
yeah,
as well, right?
definitely, definitely. I feel like a different person. I feel like I got robbed of a lot of my life over nothing. And I feel like now, at 42 years old, 3 kids later, I feel like I should have been an entirely different person um, through my kids' life. And now that I'm able to do that more, to me, it's just a blessing. It's a utter blessing, and I can't describe on the feeling of it. It's a surreal. It's basically like winning the lottery without winning the lottery. In my point of view, I wouldn't trade this for any amount of money on this earth.
Yeah, no amount of money is worth is worth when you're feeling healthy, right?
Right? Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. From that point of view, how has um how has your view or outlook changed about the future?
Honestly, I really haven't put much thought in that. I've kind of lived. Um, I live kind of 24 hours to 24 hours. I don't. I try not to look in the future so much. I find when I look in the future so much, it has a lot of stress. I try to separate two different goals. I try to separate, I have a short term goal and I have a long term goal. Obviously, with the long term goals, I want what everybody else wants. I just want to be happy. I want to live my life productively. I want to be a good father, and I just want to be a part of something great, just like everybody else. I would hope on this earth. Short term goals. I pay attention to what I do through the day. Like I have a 24-hour goal. Like at the end of the day, I'll look at myself and I'll in the mornings and I'll say, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have um, a goal of feeling a certain way at the end of the day. Um, like for the most part, I direct a lot of my attention on my kids, on what they go through, how they feel. Um, and so that's just kind of how I do that with the goal wise. You know what I'm saying? I try not to look so much to the future as I do the present. Um, I think I spent too much time in the past looking, worrying, and wondering about what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. You know, life's too short to for me to do that anymore. I just want to be as happy as I can and live my life to the fullest as it can every single day, because tomorrow is never promised. And so I try to live my life by that now.
Nice. Um, so how are you eating now? How many times and what are the meals made up of?
I'm pretty much OMAD anymore. When I first started this, like I knew about fasting, I knew about all that kind of stuff. And whenever I tried to do fasting and stuff prior to the carnivore diet, it seemed like mission impossible. It seemed like anytime I would try to do something like that, it would be almost like quitting smoking or quitting drinking, or something of that sort. It would have to be something you would have to put a lot of mental power into. And when I started the carnivore, um, everything come very naturally. Um, I didn't have to try to fast. Um, it just come naturally. And like I told you, I'm pretty much OMAD now. I eat once a day. I try to eat before 5 o'clock. I never try to eat past 5 o'clock. Usually my diet consists of like ribeyes, New York strip, hamburger. I eat eggs occasionally, not very much. Chicken about the same way. I try to treat chickens as I would like ice cream or something like that prior to the carnivore. Um, that's pretty much what all I eat. To think about it is kind of like a pretty repetition. Um, I can make other stuff. My body, I try to listen to what my body wants. And so if my body's, I'm saying to myself, geez, a good juicy ribeye would just sound just delightful right now. That's what I'll have. And that's pretty much all I have. And good old H2O. And yeah, I do have an occasional coffee, but that's about it.
Nice. I kind of like the repetition of this. I like the repetitiveness, you know. It frees me up to be able to think about other stuff because I can cook on autopilot.
Right, right, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stuff to this diet. It just, I mean, I'm sure you can attend to this as well. It changes who you are. It changes how you think about almost everything in life, and it puts everything into a different perspective. And that's kind of like the scary part to me of the carnivore, because it kind of, in my point of view, it kind of lifts the blinders off you a little bit, and it lets you see the world a little bit more clearly for what it really is. And to me, that is kind of scary.
So, can you speak to mental clarity and things like that? How are changes the way you're thinking affect life day to day?
Previous before I was on the carnivore diet, I was always the individual that I never forgot anything. Um, I could remember things from shoot when I was 3 years old. I just never forgot anything. My memory was one of them things that were just ironclad. Um, and then when I gained so much weight so quickly and I was so big for so long, my cognitive was just gone. I couldn't remember anything. Like anywhere from my kids' birthdays to simple things. There was times I couldn't even remember, what month it was or what I would have to do throughout the week, or I would have to buy sticky notes and put sticky notes all over my place just to remind me of simple things to do. Basically, basic chores, to even brush my teeth during the day. It was pretty bad. Now I feel like I was 18. I'm 18 years old. I can remember the simplest things, and everything now comes so quickly. And I don't even have to think about it. Before it was a utter struggle, um, just to get through the day for simple tasks. And that's the same thing with sleeping. Um, I couldn't make it 2 hours through the day without having to go to sleep because my energy was completely diminished. And I would go through that every single day since I started the carnivore diet. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't lay down on a mattress for years. I never slept in a mattress. I slept in a recliner. I could never lay down. I couldn't breathe. And that's even with a CPAP machine. I couldn't breathe. And so 'cause I weighed so much that it would literally, I don't know if it closed my airways, but it made me to where I wouldn't be able to breathe. And so now it's not like that. And it's people take this simple things for granted in life, um, with stuff like that. And yeah, it's pretty scary. And when things get to that level, people lose hope very quick.
Yeah, I kind of feel like your health is just something, as you say, you take it for granted, right? Your health is like it's like the utilities in your house, the water, the gas, the electric, that kind of thing, right? You don't care about the water that's running out of the sink until the water goes off and you can't take a shower and you can't wash your hands, you can't clean anything. And it's like, oh, okay, it's really, really important. And it's the
Yeah,
same with your health, right? Once your health is starting to go, nothing else matters.
you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. You're
Yeah.
you. That's a great analogy. I like that. Yeah.
So, like, there's no CPAP machine now. Are you able to sleep with like lying down now?
Yep, yep, yep. I'm able to sleep just like any average individual. I still have the CPAP machine. I don't use it. As matter of fact, this probably has more dust on it right now than than somebody's closet, and that's it's kind of a good thing. And yeah, I sleep like a normal person. I can do anything that any average individual can do, and then some. Um, like when I was so big and whatnot. I've had to use wheelchairs. I've had to use walkers. I've had to use canes. And as you notice, I said wheelchair, walker, cane. And that was just the progression of everything. Um, so yeah, I still have everything. I have kind of a, I don't want to say a phobia, but I kind of will say a phobia of letting go of that stuff because mentally i'm I am so um I'm literally petrified of something like that happening again to where I mentally am scared to let go of these items. And that's even to do with clothes. I remember one single time I would have to shop at the big and tall store at DXL. um, and that's just a specialty store for bigger people. And when I was going through all that stuff, when I was that big, I remember my sister and my daughter's mother um, brought me down there to get some clothing because I was very depressed because I'd never had any clothes I could wear, and I couldn't find any pants in there to wear. And we were up to, if I remember right, it was a size 65 jeans. And I had a mental breakdown right in the middle of that store. And I remember the checkout lady brought a size 7, or it was like a size 70 pants. And it was to the point where I could stretch my arms out and I still had room to pull more. It was that obscene. And but yeah, I still have all that kind of items and I kind of refuse to let go of them. Just for something to remind me of what I've accomplished and where I've come from to where I'm at now to a size 34 jeans. And so it's kind of a nice momentum, but yeah, in the same sense, it's kind of a real depressing momentum. So yeah, still got all that good kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think probably I would, given the same kind of situation, I'd probably want to keep the stuff around just so I could occasionally look at it and go, I'm not going back there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because one of my daughters come up to me and they kind of suggested making a blanket out of the stuff. And so yeah, it's kind of like I can't do that. And so they're really pushing for me to get rid of it. Sometimes I'll come home and it'll all be sacked up in garbage bags and just ready to be donated. It's kind of like I think, who's going to use this stuff? And they're like, they can make blankets out of it, Dad. And it's like, oh, shot me right in the heart. Just shot me right in the heart on that one. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of comical. It's kind of nice they can make make a light joke out of something, in my point of view, pretty serious. And so, yeah, is quite
Mm.
comical sometimes. You know.
So have they been influenced at all in their eating by what you've done with yours?
Yes, my son, he's 9 years old, and I would say he's the most on board with this kind of stuff. He kind of seeks it out now. In the beginning, he didn't. He was pretty. I don't want to say against it, but he wasn't just used to that way of eating. I try to explain to him it's not really a diet; it's just a different way of eating, a better way of eating to make him big and strong. And he has learning disabilities, and I don't know if he has a very mild form of autism, but I'll say that um, for you guys here. And even with him, doing this carnivore has helped him drastically. Before he was heavily medicated because he was very hard to control with a lot of anger outbursts, and he could, had severe ADHD, could never focus on anything, couldn't sleep, wet the bed all the time, even at, at the age he is now. And now with that stuff, since he's went to the carnivore with his dad, it's gotten dramatically better. My oldest daughter, she kind of she doesn't do the carnivore per se. She does more of a keto. My middle daughter, she eats everything. she 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 just she eats everything. And so, as far as sort of doing the carnivore, when she was born, she had short gut syndrome when she was born, and basically what that is, it's an obstruction of the bowels. And so when she was born as an infant, she basically had to have a gastric bypass to allow her to live. And so now she has to have a high calorie, high fat intake at all times. And so she's just a bottomless pit. She'll eat anything you'll put in front of her, and she's probably 90 pounds soaking wet. And I'm 6 foot tall, and she's probably 5'7" now. 5'8" at 12 years old. So she eats everything. So yeah, but everybody in my household is 100% for this way of eating. Just from seeing what I've been through and gone through, and just from the places I've been to where I'm at now, um, they won't let me buy nothing else. So it's every single day. My oldest daughter will ask me if I want something out of the freezer, if I want a ribeye, New York strip, some hamburger, or some chicken, or whatever the case might be. So they're pretty on board. Almost everybody that I come in contact with, if you give me just a little bit of time with them to talk to them, they're pretty much on board with it. And yeah, it's a great feeling to know that they're doing something good for themselves, and just have the knowledge to do it for themselves is so fulfilling. This is my first time ever doing this, ever explaining this kind of stuff, and I feel very deep about this kind of stuff. Prior
Mm.
to me experiencing the carnivore diet, I never felt this way. I never knew the information that I know now, and I never looked at things the way that I look at them now. Especially, going through the grocery aisle every periodically, I'll have my kids with me, and they're, oh, Dad, can I get this cereal? Or Dad, can I do this? Or get this? And I won't tell them no. I'll just say, well, let's look at the ingredients. Let's check it out. And so we'll look through it, and see things in there. The first things that you come across, is enriched wheat or sugar, then have four or five different names different for sugar. And so it's kind of like, buddy, why don't we pick something out a little bit better than this, and that'll give me an opportunity to explain to them why. Um, but I noticed if I don't explain to them or have a reason for it, they get kind of upset. So that's another way that I deal with my kids and being able to transition them over to something more than what I'm doing is information, because kids are smarter than what people give them credit for. They know a lot more than what we think they know, um, by far. So, and to fix the problem, information wise, go with your kids, um, because they will solve the problems.
Um, so on on the point about talking to people about it, like, do you have any advice or any message for someone who might be in the similar situation to what you were, and
Yeah,
what you would maybe
definitely.
recommend they do?
My message to somebody that was in the similar position that I was, and struggling with the same things that I've struggled through. It doesn't matter if it's more or less. You're worth everything in the world. It's not hopeless. The impossible is possible. The solution to things is not as hard as people make them out to be. Um, put one foot in front of another. Live day by day. Don't worry about how far you make it in the day, just as long as you make it somewhere. If you try this diet or this way of living, if it's complicated, you're not doing it right. Because this is something to me that's not meant to be complicated at all. Just like what I told you in the very beginning of this, nobody has to seek for the truth. The truth comes out very smoothly, and it'll be very consistent. And so, like I said, if it's hard, it's not right. Um, Everything that comes with this diet, anywhere from the fasting to what you eat, your body will tell you everything you want to know. You just have to listen just a little bit. Um, that's basically what I would say to them. Um, yeah, I'm really trying not to get emotional here because I take this stuff really personal. Because when I see people that are really big or having problems in life, I sympathize for them a lot, and I have a lot of empathy because 9 times out of 10 is just surely for what they're taught, um, and they don't know any better, and it's really sad. And if I could help anybody, I would. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what color you are. Everybody deserves an equal shake at life with the right information.
So, firstly, nicely said. Um, do you have any social media or any way people can reach out to you, Anthony?
I have a Facebook. I imagine everybody has a Facebook anymore. I got a Facebook. I'm kind of older. I'm 42, so I don't have all that Instagram, Snapchat kind of good stuff. People have been trying to talk me into doing a YouTube channel. I'm kind of on the fence about that. You're the first person that I've talked to directly about this kind of stuff per se, besides my family or medical individuals. And that's another thing I would like to talk to you briefly about. Um, But yeah, that's about all I got is Facebook. And if anybody um, needs to talk to somebody or needs a little bit of information from somebody that's been there and done that to this extreme, I'm always here. Like I said, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what position you are in life. I don't care if you're rich, poor, or indifferent. It doesn't matter to me. If you need help, I'll help you. If there's something I could share with you that'll make your life a little easier, I'll help you. It doesn't matter. I don't need money. I don't need clout. Just a simple fact that I'm going to help somebody that needs the help is fulfilling enough to me. But like I was going to tell you about the medical stuff there with doctors, when I tell you I've had doctors tell me that I have, months to live, or even now with the carnivore diet and going through the things that I've gone through, and come so far and lost so much weight that I've lost. I've had doctors literally tell me I'm crazy for doing this diet. I've had doctors walk out of the offices, refuse to see me because of this diet share alone.
So,
Um,
so even though you've lost nearly 500 pounds, they're still like, yeah, 500 pounds, but you're going to have a heart attack or something like that.
100%, 100%, yes. And this has been current, like I would say, no more than a month ago that I've had a doctor walk out of the office on me. I was trying to find a medical doctor because right now I'm at the point to where I am actively seeking to get skin removal done. I have a lot of skin that I need to deal with. I don't need to deal with it because of any medical um, reason. Is more or less of a personal matter and psychological matter. And I want to make sure all my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted. And so I was trying to find a doctor to involve this part of my life in. And the last doctor I seen walked out on me. And they're like, and so why are you here? Oh, you've lost this much weight. Great. How'd you do it? I did the carnivore diet. And they looked at me like I was crazy. Then they wanted to run blood tests. Of course, they run blood tests and checking my cholesterol and triglycerides and this and that and this and that. And it didn't matter what mountain I climbed over, it wasn't good enough because it wasn't their way. It wasn't through a pill. It wasn't, starving yourself or whatever the case might be, or gastric bypass or a stomach sleeve. It was none of that stuff. It was surely just from the carnivore diet. And so it just, like I told you earlier, it amazes me on how naive and programmed people are for a dollar bill. Because to me, the medical 90% of the medical industry is nothing but a dollar bill. It's about a revolving door to keep people coming and to keep getting the meds and keep getting sick from the foods that they're ingesting and everything else. So it is absolutely insane on if you're when you get the blinders taken off and you're able to see just how deep things go. And so, yeah.
That story amazes me because it's like the doctor is like a bad actor in a cheap soap opera or something, storming out of the room. It's like
Yeah, I've had doctors just yell right at me. Did they never do nothing of me besides reading my name off a piece of paper and reading my file, and probably not even that, reading the first page of it. And so it just astonishes me that people can be so closed off.
Mm. I mean, I think you're right. I think it's about the dollar bill, or it's about something that's much more emotional to them, because people that are acting rationally are not like that. People that are acting rationally say, "Well, look, I'll give you the best information I can. You go and make up your mind because it's your body." They don't
Ex-
screaming and storming out of the room like a spoiled princess.
Exactly, exactly, and ultimately, I've had to remind myself so many times seeing doctors, they work for you. You don't work for them. You're hiring them to do a job. And so ultimately what goes on is your decision. And if they don't like the decision that you make, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of other medical professionals out there that will help you. And that's another thing is that people think that they see a medical professional that they have to stick with that medical professional, or if they have to do exactly what they say. If you're not happy with them, find a different one. The answer is just right around the corner. If somebody can't find the answer for you, there's another one that will. And there's doctors out there that do care. There's doctors out there that will help you, and doctors out there that will listen to you and won't make you feel like you're nothing. They won't make you feel like you're crazy. And I say that specifically because that's how I felt. I felt like I was crazy. I felt like I didn't know nothing. I don't claim to be the smartest individual in the world, but I'm far from the most, ignorant person. And so that's another piece of the pie. There's so many pieces to the pie on this stuff that I've experienced. Is just unreal. Yeah,
I think you make a really good point there as well, about there's plenty of doctors out there. We always say competition is a good thing for the consumer because it'll drive prices down, it gives you choice and all this kind of thing. But for some reason, we've got this thing in our minds about doctors. And we should really be treating the doctors the same way, like you say, there's 1,000 other doctors out there that can help you. Just say, well, okay, you want to storm out the room? See you later.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And like this last time that this happened, I just looked at him and I smiled at him. I said, "You can leave now." And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, "You can leave this room. I don't need your advice. I don't want your advice. Um, just from 2 seconds talking to you, my interactions with you, I want nothing to do with you." And it's just like if a place of employment for myself or yourself or whoever else, you go to a job acting like that or speaking to your boss that way, you ain't gonna have a job very much longer. And I don't understand why people seem that they have to put up with this kind of stuff, which they don't. That's an easy way to weed out the bad apples. You don't have to see them.
Very well said. Yeah.
I would say a lot. I don't want to say a lot of the problems, but the majority of the problems is the information that doctors have.
Mm.
Like just like us with the food industry, they're programmed to act a certain way and to do a certain thing you know as they're taught. They're taught to prescribe medications. They're not taught, you know, how to avoid medications and to do things the appropriate way, because that's like when I tell you there's no money in that stuff. There's no money in for if I was a medical doctor to say, listen, man, all you got to do is eat this, this, and this, and this. Don't eat this, and you'll be fine. You'll be completely fine. You'll be healthy. All the things you're experiencing right now will be gone. There's no money in that. There's zero money. Nobody would have a job. Pharmaceutical companies
Yeah.
would be billionaires. I mean, So, if I was always taught when I was young, from my parents, from my mom and dad, if you ever want to find the root of a problem, follow the dollar bill, see who profits what off of what. And when you get to the end of the rainbow of the dollar bill, there you go. That's the problem. That's the source. And so that's kind of how I think about like the food industry, even like the food pyramid from back when I was a kid. You know, you follow that food pyramid, you're going to be a diabetic real quick. Even if you look on like the diabetes website, that they have the standard diet for a diabetic. If you don't believe me on this, just go check it out. You'll have diabetes if you follow that diet, without a doubt. So if that little tiny sliver of information doesn't tell somebody something's not right here, I mean, you have an issue as well, and so yeah, it's just
Yeah, I think the recipes and food recommendations on the diabetes website are more about giving people diabetes so they can increase their membership or something, because it's just ridiculous what they're trying to get people to eat.
yeah, yep. And diabetes, at face value, people might look at diabetes and say, "Oh, okay, it's just diabetes." Millions of people have diabetes. But what you don't understand is with diabetes and being a diabetic, when your blood glucose is elevated, it's just like glass in your bloodstream. It attacks your arteries, it attacks your blood vessels. And I'll briefly explain that to you. My dad was a diabetic. He was uncontrolled all of his life. He passed away at the age of 56 years old. He had a blood clot in his leg. Um, he went to go get surgery, and when they did surgery, they weren't able to repair his arteries that they did surgery in, and he ultimately died, um, basically from being a diabetic. Um, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't. It was nothing glamorous. It was not an easy way to go. That man died very hard and very painfully. Um, you lose limbs from that stuff, from destroying your circulatory system. And so diabetes is it has so many different elements to it, and affects so many different things that it's not something simple, and people don't understand that. What sugar does to you. Sugar, in my point of view, is worse than any drug out there. And any drug than heroin, methamphetamines, marijuana, alcohol. Sugar is by far, in my point of view, the leading cause of every death in this world. It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal.
So, Anthony, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story with us today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.